Welcome back for another week of Centenarian Club. We're going to be finishing up the topic of intuitive eating today. And then we're also going to be discussing a question that was posed not a question, maybe a topic that was posed by Thomas and Gwen about the omega-3 to omega-6 ratio. So hopefully we'll be able to get to all of that today. If not, of course, we'll be doing tomorrow. And then just a reminder, I'm going to post in the Slack today that we're going to Mexico on March 6th. So instead of the Thursday class, oh shoot, I wanted to check actually your schedule. We are going to be moving that Thursday class. Now that I just realized, we haven't figured out when.
I think the lunch, I'll be free 12 to 1.
Okay, on Monday the 3rd. Okay, so Monday, March 3rd, 2 weeks from now, our Thursday class is going to be the Monday, March 3rd. So I'll post that in the Slack as well. Okay, so before we get started with some of the discussion points, does anybody have any wins to share with the group?
I actually have one in the topic of intuitive eating with my kids. So I don't know, I was called by the frozen heart, a pig heart in my. So I defrosted and I cooked it yesterday lunch. Just like quickly cooked. And are you still there?
Yep.
Oh, I think I lost you. Did I lost you?
No, your video froze a bit, but we still heard you.
You still here? Okay. So I cooked the heart for lunch for the kids. I think two of them, they were like, oh my gosh, mommy, it's so good. It's so tasty. I don't understand why people don't eat that part of the animal. And I was like, that's like my mommy heart was like, oh yes, I'm doing the right thing. That's intuitive eating, right? It's like they eat and they're like, it's tasty. And it's just like little fried and with salt and pepper and rosemary and paprika. And that's it. Like there's nothing special that I did. So yeah, that was my feel good moment.
Nice. You said 2 of the 3 liked it? No, she froze. Maybe she'll come back. Yeah, I was listening to a podcast yesterday about some of it was talking about intuitive eating, and this guy had a little bit more of like a radical approach. He was saying that kids, if you watch them, you'll learn a lot. One of the things he was saying is that they don't like a lot of salt. So I guess as you get older, for whatever reason, we develop a liking for that. But a lot of kids don't really enjoy too much salt. He's also saying they will often gravitate towards raw meat versus cooked, which I'm sure most people don't experiment with. But I'm very curious about that, if that is true, if infants do like that, because he was kind of saying in the wild, there's so many arguments about raw versus cooked, but he was saying that basically every other food eats their meat raw, and a lot of tribes, they also don't really cook a lot of their meat, so it's actually not that unnatural to eat raw meat. So kids naturally gravitate towards that, and you can learn a lot about what is our natural diet based off of looking at kids. So anyways, I'm not advising you to eat raw meat, but you could experiment, but also just, I think, watching kids and seeing what they naturally gravitate towards and don't like. I always think about that with alcohol and coffee too, because those are 2 things that kids like 100% of the time. Like usually you're not feeding your kids a lot of alcohol, but even just the taste of beer, I remember as like a 12-year-old having a sip is like, this is disgusting. Why would you ever drink this?
Yeah, you have to like learn to like it.
Yeah, but I wonder if you actually learn to like the taste, or you develop an association with the feeling it gets you, right? So
yeah, that's a good point. And even like, maybe you're not going to be doing raw meat with your kids, or for yourself, but maybe it's looking at how you cook things. And I think that there is a culture now of just like overcooking everything just to be safe, right? But if you're getting good quality stuff, maybe you get to experiment with a little bit more like medium rare if you're usually doing like the more well cooked, or just kind of stepping down your level of cookedness, especially if it's a good quality and a good, good quality meat, basically. I think that pork has a little bit more, I don't know, issues with parasites and stuff like that. So you wouldn't really want to experiment with that. But I think beef would be a good one, especially if you're getting a good cut. That could be a good one to experiment with if you have a tendency to always overcook.
Yeah, a lot of people like steak tartare. That's like a normal thing you get at a restaurant, and people usually aren't like scared about that. But then there's other raw meats you get at home where you're like, oh my God. Or ceviche, that's raw fish. And in other cultures, it's actually quite common to eat things much more rare. So
But sourcing, like
Yeah.
for us to get fish here, it's hard
Right.
to get it fresh, right? So
Except for this weekend, going ice fishing.
yeah,
Maybe I'll try a little bit. Oh,
a little
perch.
ceviche.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it'd be good.
Well, thanks for sharing, Veronique. That is a big win, and it is a good reminder to have more beef heart because it's so good. It tastes actually delicious. So does tongue, believe it or not. I think Thomas and Gwen have tried our beef tongue taco recipe. It's good.
Still haven't really found a liking for liver. Like sometimes I can eat it, tolerate it, but I still haven't.
I don't mind it
grown a
sometimes. Yeah.
liking. Yeah, seems to be individual. Some people really like it.
Yeah.
But it works as a pate more, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, like a seasoned spread would be good. We haven't really made that though. We usually just try and cook it.
No.
Yeah. Have you guys found a good pate recipe?
I've made pate, yeah. I'm not sure. I've never really followed recipes, so but yeah, that's why I just say I make it into a pate, and it's just nice as long as you don't make too much of it. Otherwise, you kind of get sick of it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Agree
Yeah.
with that. My experience too with garlic. If you put garlic to it, kind of neutralize garlic, bacon, and even balsamic vinegar. And then I put usually egg yolk too, so it kind of makes it more smooth. And the kids usually like it that way better, much better. But yeah, if you have too much, there will be like, eh. My dose of iron is okay. I don't need it anymore, I guess.
Yeah. I think that is part of it with iron or liver too. It's so nutrient dense, which is great, but there is a point where your body says, no, I don't need any more of this. Like it's a potent food.
Mhm.
And that's an intuitive eating cue too, when it says no, even of a good thing, you know?
Yeah.
Any
Okay.
other wins? Sorry, were you going to say that?
For us, so last week was my immune system must have been really down, and I'm not sure if it's kind of what I've been working on, kind of with working with the naturopath, Dr. Prytula. So I'm not sure if it was from that and just toxins trying to get out of my system, but
Got it, so maybe not.
no, that's not true. You can't get from me.
Oh, no.
Anyways, I'm feeling much better, and oh yeah, I did give it away. That's right, I gave it to Gwen.
Thank you for sharing.
And then, but we both continue to go down another couple of pounds, so and still feeling great. So
Wow.
Awesome.
Amazing. Yeah, it's interesting when you're kind of detoxing with keto. Yeah, it could have been, your body just getting rid of something. It could be an impact, especially if you guys were kind of looking at calories. You said you were doing under calories, right? So it could be something too that you're looking at and saying, well, was my body supported? Did it have all the nutrients? So it could be something to play around with there too. But you guys are still losing weight, still feeling great. So that's a huge win for sure. And it sounds like, Gwen, you're in the midst of it with your voice there, but Thomas, it sounds like you are getting over it. So your resilience, like, of course we're going to get sick sometimes, but your resilience is there. You were able to get over it relatively quickly.
And it's been a very functional one. Like, this is just the sound. It's other than a bit of congestion, it's not anything horrible at all.
Awesome.
Good.
we were just thinking also, wow, we haven't been to the chiropractor in a long time. That's a really great feeling. So just kind of that, the foam roller, the balls, just being in tune with my body, going, okay, these muscles need to be stretched out, just to create some equilibrium. Like just there's that being in tune with the body that's never been as good as it has been at this stage of our life.
It was funny, our hips were hurting at night, right? And it's like, we know how to fix this. And then you figure out stretches that you need and all that stuff. And whereas before it'd be like, oh, I think we should go to the chiropractor or somewhere, right? Yeah. We can do this.
Yeah, that's awesome.
That's
Good for you
amazing.
guys.
So empowering. And like, we're often giving our power away when it's like, oh, this hurts. Oh, I need to go to see this person. And even though it's a natural practitioner, we're still giving our power away and saying, well, what do I do? What do I do? But for you guys to have the tools, using your own hands or the tools that you have available at your house, applying them and actually feeling better to the point where you don't need to go, if you did go to see a chiropractor, just be kind of an added bonus, not a necessity. Like, that's a massive win. Thanks for
Do
sharing,
you
guys.
guys notice any differences in recovery or just like pain on keto?
Clarify a bit more. Sorry.
Like in terms of just like, muscle stiffness or, after a workout.
Mhm.
So I know for me personally, like after a workout, normally I feel a little bit sore the next day or sometimes 2 days later. But when I'm eating more low carb and keto, I feel like my recovery is a little bit better. I just don't have as much aches and pains. Like I wake up in the morning just feeling a little bit more limber. So I'm just curious if you guys have noticed that or not.
So I know for myself, like Thomas has had the hips that will hurt at night and stuff like that. And I've
Mhm.
never really had that. And then till 2 nights ago when it was like, wow, this is really nasty. Like I don't like this at all. So I feel almost like we're feeling more of the aches and pains than before, but
Interesting.
We'll keep an eye on it. We'll keep an eye on it. It really depends on who's running the fitness course on Fridays.
Yeah.
Yeah, or oh my gosh, we never. Anyways, we'll keep an eye on it.
well, and
Okay.
two, we haven't been as stringent on daily fitness as much as we normally are, just because we haven't been feeling quite 100%. So then when you hit the Fridays, you go, oh yeah, this is workout.
Yeah. Did you guys ever go to Flash with Justine, that gym?
I don't think they did.
No? Okay. Well, you're lucky you missed those ones. I threw up the first time I went. It was
Oh
like
my
way,
goodness.
way harder than I thought. Like, I'm
Wow.
a university athlete, I'll be fine. I mean, I kind of misjudged. I thought we were only doing one round of something, so I went as hard as I could, and then Justine was like, "Okay, round two," and I was like, "Oh my god!" So, anyways,
And
yeah,
it sounds like she's
Fridays are killer.
intense.
Yeah, she's intense. Awesome. Any other wins?
I got one.
Yay.
I have lifted the heaviest I've ever lifted with my weights. So with the hex bar, which I've never done ever working out, I started with my trainer using the hex bar and I lifted 175.
Amazing. That's awesome.
Wow.
Good for you.
Yeah.
Hex
And
bar
then
is
with
great,
the
eh?
hex bar, I've never tried it because I used to do only what I know, right? Just
Yeah.
because I wasn't a big, gym fan. But yeah, I tried it. It took some time to adapt to, but yeah, I'm lifting the heaviest I ever have, so I'm really happy. I'm really feeling strong.
That's
Awesome.
a good feeling. Was that for deadlift?
Yeah, so the squat bar I went up to 115.
Nice.
And the hex bar is, yeah, I guess would that be a no, that no, hex bar is not considered a deadlift, is it? No.
Yeah, I mean, I guess,
Really?
yeah, I was just kind of group it in as deadlift, but it's kind of like a in between of a deadlift and a squat because you don't go down as much.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's good. It's fun.
That's
My
awesome.
my trainer is so good at like pushing me beyond. Like he won't tell me how much he's putting on, and then he'll just surprise us like you just lifted this much, you know? So we've done it obviously slowly, like we didn't just
Yeah.
lift 175, but we've done it super slowly, and we've reached, my best friend and I have reached a really power. It's powerful because we thought we couldn't do it. Like even initially when he gave me the hex bar, I'm like, I don't think I can lift this on its own. But he's so good at just like pushing you beyond that. Like, like just he's great. So I'm really happy I've hired a personal trainer.
Awesome. Glad to
Yeah.
hear. That's great.
Yeah.
Congratulations. What is a hex bar?
Thank you. That's what I guess I'll send a picture because it's hard to describe, but it's like a hexagon, but there's weights on each side. And you step in it, and then you lift the bar up. Is that a good explanation? I don't know. Maybe I'll send a picture in the group chat.
Andrew's just looking
I'll
at the-
share my screen here
Oh,
and
okay.
go quick.
There we go.
Yeah. So that's kind of what it looks like. And then when you're lifting, can you guys see that? Probably, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So instead of like, I think the benefit is that with a normal deadlift, your weight's a little bit more forward because you have to
Yes.
reach like the bars ahead. But this one, you can basically stay in the center of the weight there. So it's less strain on your back. So it's basically just a safer way to kind of, yeah, deadlift slash squat.
And it's not as
Yeah.
much load on your spine because a lot of times the squat bar is on along the upper back, loading your spine. So if you have any sort of, sometimes when people go heavy with the weights, it really throws off your spine. Sometimes you do a big arch with your low back, putting
Yeah.
a lot of strain on the low back. So then you're going through pushing yourself to your max, but then you're having bad form and exposing yourself to the potential of injury. So the hex bar is really great because you can lift more without putting so much strain on your back. You need a good grip though. But
Yes.
that's part of strength too, is having a good grip. So yeah, it's a good,
Yeah.
it's not available in all gyms. Which gym do you go to?
It's a small, very small gym. It's not like a like LA or goodness, Good Life. Sorry, it's not like Good Life. It's here in Mississauga. It's owned by just I think one man, and he just started this small business, and he kind of like he has his own, I guess, clientele, and then he has trainers who rent it for like an hour here, an hour there, or whenever. And then there's people who just kind of go, like who sign up kind of like a membership, I believe. But it's a very intimate, small space with everything you need, but just it's kind of like in like a business area here, like Mavis, like Matheson and here Ontario area. I don't know if you recognize that area. So it's really nice. I really enjoy it because it isn't busy. Like when we
Mhm.
go, there's like two other people. It's very warm in there. It's like, so the owner is from Barbados, I believe. So they have like soca on, and they have plants everywhere, and they do like smoothies, and it's really, really nice. And I'm so glad that I found something like that, because for the longest time I just never signed up for the gym because I just didn't love the vibe of the gym, the smells of the gym. Like this one is so great. Yeah. I actually
Wow.
tagged them on a video I did on Instagram. I can send it to you just to show you.
Yeah,
Nice.
please. Yeah, that'd be awesome. It's so important to love where you're going, right? It is, it takes away from the experience, or it sucks if you're going to a gym and you're like, yeah, this smells, it's overpacked. I can't get what I want. When I do, it's covered in sweat. And, it's just like,
Yeah.
it doesn't keep the gym enjoyable, a place that you want to go back to. So finding a place
Yeah.
that is important for your own motivation.
Exactly. And my trainer, he actually trains at Good Life. So I could have gotten like a membership or something, but then he told us about this other private place, and I love it so much more. Yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Cool. Congrats. And thanks for
Thank
sharing.
you. Thank you.
Just missing a sand floor. Sounds like
That's
a
Andrew's
typical
Absolutely.
Barbados vibe. That'd be pretty
Yeah,
fun,
that would
I
be
think.
so nice. Because you know what's great? They have like a big heater. Because I think it's kind of like it was a garage type of thing. Um, Almost like where mechanics work, like a really
Yeah.
big garage. So it's something like that. And they have this massive heater right in the middle. So I
Cool.
never feel cold there. Never.
Yeah. Oh, that's
That's
amazing.
nice. So I love that you brought up too, Solange, like the importance of having a trainer and pushing you to your limits. I think that could be, well, it could be my win today. So do you guys remember Jenna Zhang? Not my sister Jenna, the other Jenna. She was in a course, if you guys remember, a while ago. She's just on pause right now because she had a baby in October, but she does want to come back to the Centenarian Club. But she was doing a course. I don't even know, I guess, what it would be called, but it was like she reached out and said, "Do you mind if I practice my coaching on you?" And I was like, yeah, absolutely. And just working with her just on it was just like a free for one of her assignments. I found so much value. First of all, she's a natural. And second of all, the way she was able to ask questions and prompt me to go deeper, she helped me to uncover a block that I really didn't even really know was there. And so it's just so important sometimes, we can think that we know it all, or don't need a coach or don't need a trainer or whatever, but it's so important to actually put yourself in these situations, especially when you find somebody that you resonate with, that you like, and challenge yourself in that way to see like, well, where are my blind spots? What am I missing? So that's a huge win for me, you know, just and just another eye-opening moment that trainers, coaches, people that can help you along your journey are just so important. And then the other cool thing that she shared was that she's going back to she did the Kitchery cleanse with us last January, and she's resuming it this week with her husband. So I thought that was cool that she was motivated to do that and get back into that, even though she hasn't even been a part of the Centenarian Club for the last, I think, 6 months ish, as she's had a baby and stuff. So yeah, I thought that was a cool win. And yeah, we look forward to welcoming her back when she's ready.
Yeah, I was thinking about that the other day, actually, the Kitchery cleanse, and how sometimes we're talking about fasting and some things that are a little bit more intense. And if that resonates with you and you're able to do those, great. But then there's certain times, like, you know, after you have a baby or whatever, that you obviously wouldn't want to do water fasting. So there's so many different options for fasting. Like when I say fasting, sometimes we think just water fasting, but something like that, just doing like 3 days of eating like, you know, a mono meal type thing, a nourishing Kitchery can still have plenty of benefits. So just for those who may be feeling like, you know, they're not sure if fasting is good or not, you can always use those types of things. I just put in my calendar yesterday to remind myself quarterly. So after New Year's, after Easter, after Canada Day, and after Thanksgiving, just cleanse. And then I don't know what I'm going to do for that, but I like to kind of have something scheduled just to keep me accountable. And if I'm not feeling like a water fast, then maybe I'll do Kitchery, or maybe I'll do a 3-day apple fast or something, just to switch things up and yeah, cleanse a little bit.
Veronique says she's having Kitchery tonight for dinner.
Awesome.
What a coincidence. That's great. Okay, so one thing before we get going into the intuitive eating is the time that we're away. So the 13th and the 20th. Yeah, I don't know if you guys remember, Blaze was on here telling a story last week and then his internet cut out. So then I was like, oh gosh, I hope that doesn't happen to us. So anyways, we arranged that if you guys remember Allie or Alyssa Horowitz or Kirby, I forget how she had signed up, but she did a talk last year when we were also in Mexico in April. And she talked about the family dynamics and some questions to ask your family heritage to figure out how you know, that the epigenetics of that all and how it impacts you now, just based on even just past traumas in your heritage.
It's called like generational healing or something
Yeah,
like that.
yeah, it was a fantastic talk. And yeah, we all learned a ton from it. And I know that one of our members actually sat down with her parents with the list. I don't know if anybody else did, but sat down with her parents with the list and asked all those questions and got some really cool insights from it. So anyways, she has agreed to, we haven't figured out a topic yet. So let us know if there's something you're interested for her, but she's a wealth of wisdom. So she's going to be talking on the 13th and the 20th. We're still going to be there, but just in case our internet isn't great, she's going to be kind of leading the discussion. So we'll figure out what that topic is, but mark that in your calendar because she's fantastic and you won't want to miss that. Yeah, okay. So I think that's it for the announcements. Okay, so I wanted to get into some actionable steps from intuitive eating and some things that you can start to do to hone in on that intuition. So it sounds like there already are some good steps and some good awareness. One of the first things that you'll want to do with intuitive eating, or just using your intuition more when it comes to eating, is defining what is good, what feels good in your body. So for instance, when you know, you're sitting down with that beef heart, Veronique, with your kids and they're like, oh yes, this is so good, right? What is good? What does that mean? What is the sensations that you're feeling? Is it all of a sudden you're feeling energized? Is it all like your stomach feels very light, like it doesn't feel like a heavy meal? You know, is it the mood boost that you get when you eat these foods? Define, like, because we could just say this is good, this feels good, this tastes good, but define for you what is good so that you can really understand, you know, as you approach different foods, because something can taste good but not feel good. So you're kind of defining what feels good for you, what that means, so that you can then kind of identify it moving forward.
What about uncontrollable smiling or giggling when you eat a food?
That's good. You can write that down.
That happened to Marissa yesterday.
I had a migraine yesterday, and I sat down and I felt nauseous. I didn't feel like eating. And Andrew, we're doing keto. I'm getting so bored of food. Andrew made a cheese-based bun that actually felt like a bun. It was so good. And I sat down, I took a bite, and I was just like full joy. He hit the spot. Actually, we were in Orangeville. I was looking up like keto restaurants for Valentine's Day. We wanted to go out for lunch, and we went to a diner in Orangeville that said it had a keto menu on there. So we went out for lunch, and we were so hungry. We got there, and there was like a 25-minute wait to get a table. It was so busy. We finally sit down, we get the menu, and I'm like, where's the keto part of the menu? Because it was a full menu online. She's like, oh, we haven't offered that in a year. I was like, what? Oh no, I really planned out what I wanted to have. They had keto buns. I was just so excited for like a normal meal. Anyways, they didn't have it. And so we had to get 2 eggs and a bun without a burger and a Cobb salad from a diner. It was just, I really complained way too much, but I was just so excited. I felt so deprived in my keto. So this was really nice to actually have something, like a nice burger bun. So maybe you can share the recipe. It was really good.
Yeah, it was good. It's pretty simple.
Yeah. Mostly with keto, I haven't been feeling deprived at all until we go to a restaurant, and I've gone twice this time. And then I went another time too. And I just looked at the menu and I'm like, I want everything and I can only have this salad. It kind of sucks. So I'm not going out for meals anymore. Thomas and Gwen, were you going to say something?
No, it's all good.
I was just curious what restaurant it had been. Was it the Bluebird?
No, the Bluebird. Yeah, no, I'd be way too tempted to get one of their stone oven pizzas. It was called Deja Vu.
Deja Vu Diner. It's just like a little
Wouldn't
diner,
recommend.
cheap breakfast food.
We only went there because it had the keto menu. And they sold, if you guys know Cobb salad, or sorry, Cobb's bread. They had all their sandwiches were served on Cobb's bread. I had to say no to that. That was the most deprived I felt on keto.
Sorry to interrupt.
Yeah. Sorry. Okay. So define what feels good. So really what feels good to you, write that down so you truly understand it. And what is your goal too with eating? Because it can be, to consistently be in that good spot, but it can also be to, hone in on your intuition. And this can change over time. It can be to be like the healthiest version of yourself. Sometimes it's actually to restrict food limitations or anything that feels like, especially if you've have a history of restricted eating or consistent dieting or whatever, maybe it's actually to step into your freeness with food and not feel so limited and restricted when it comes to food. So everybody's goal when you step into more using your intuition can be a little bit different. So kind of define that so you understand what you're working towards, because it's not going to be perfect. It is a journey. So understand that. Next would be, depending on how in-depth you want to go, would be food tracking and symptom tracking. This can be written. This can be really intense. Like you can write out like, what's for Monday, breakfast, lunch, dinner, snacks, how I felt. I think I shared this before, a little like diet diary, and I can share it again. If you want to write it all out as you're going, symptoms, how I felt good after this meal. I didn't feel good after this, then I had a column in this, page that I'm talking about that was my nervous system and how I ate, not just what I ate, right? So you can really start to understand, and this is obviously the most in-depth would be writing down what feels good, how it feels good, how you're eating feels good, what the foods are, the people that you're surrounded with. So you can really start to understand and make connections and links as to, yes things and not so much things. Or you can just write down the connections that you make. Instead of writing down everything, you just write down the connections that you make. Does this make sense? Or maybe I can do an example. So, okay, so like even going to the diner, for instance, I had 2 eggs and a burger without a bun. That felt like a massive, massive no for me. And the reason was because I felt so deprived. My nervous system was not in a place where I felt like digesting. I felt nauseous for like 2 hours after, remember? Or not nauseous, but I just didn't feel, my stomach felt off for 2 hours after. The food itself, I'm sure, wasn't like the best quality anyways, but I went in there expecting something. I had to change what I ordered, and it felt like crap. So my nervous system was not in a state where I was ready to accept that food. So I know now not to expose myself into situations where I'm going to be feeling deprived, because that's not going to be healthy for me. No matter how healthy the food is. That Cobb salad, it was generally pretty healthy. Didn't feel like a yes for me. In a more normal situation, if you're having, I think I explained this last week, if you're having, a cake, maybe it's not like a healthy food, but you're enjoying a birthday party together, you're in good company, everyone's laughing and you're celebrating somebody, that can feel really easy to digest, right? So you can kind of write down like this feels like a yes, it's in good company. I have to have the right mindset while I'm eating, right? So you're kind of making connections in that way.
And sometimes it's even more simple than that. Like I had a patient who kept getting a bunch of like gas and bloating. That was her main complaint. And I asked what time it happens. Is it, does it happen a certain time of day? And she's like, always 2 or 3 p.m. So then I'm thinking, okay, what do you have for lunch? And she'd have this massive like kale spinach salad because she thought it was healthy, which for some people it is, but for other people, it's like not that easy to digest raw kale necessarily. So we said, okay, let's switch up the, lunch, eat something else. And like day one, it went away completely. So just, that type of, the timing is also very helpful because you can also correlate that to meal times or if there's some other factor.
Yeah, stressors, presentations you have to make or whatever. How does that impact? Yeah. Okay, so next would be eating without distractions. And the reason is because you are wanting to really tune into your food, not only to regulate your nervous system, tell your nervous system, I am eating, it's time to digest, I am safe, right? Here I am present with my food. The Chinese saying, mi dao, qi dao, where my mind goes, qi goes. So your mind is with your food, so you're regulating your nervous system, that how you eat piece. But also so that you can really tune in and to hone in on your intuition to say, is this a yes in my body? Where do I feel like my body shifts? Where do I feel like I do get the giggles? Like, how easy is that to miss? I mean, the giggles is a little bit like extreme. You don't typically get the giggles when you eat, but where do you feel a little bit more energized? Maybe it's the first bite, right? Have you ever been so famished? We were talking about this actually, like you're so hungry and you take the first bite and it's like instant relief, right? It's like it's not necessarily like you finally have energy, but it's not necessarily that the food has actually gone in, digested, and you get the energy. It's almost like the mindset connected, and you feel safe now with the food, and you. Yeah, you know that like more food is coming, the association that comes after you eat. Like, I don't know, there's just something there. So the more you can hone in on that and sit with that without any distractions, you can really notice when your energy lifts, when your mood shifts, whether, to a good spot or a bad spot, because you don't have any distractions. There's no phone in front of you. You're not watching a show. You're not half doing work, half eating. You're present. Okay, another piece that you can do, just going along with that and nervous system regulation, is you can really sit in good posture. Sometimes when I'm eating, I especially find this if I'm eating on the couch, sometimes as my posture is so crooked. And when you think about blood flow to your organ systems, especially your digestive systems, you want everything to be open and ready to receive. So if you're sitting and you're all crunched up or curved to one side, think about the blood flow happening to those organ systems. So this can really skew if you don't feel good and you're like, well, what food did I eat? Well, are you all crunched up and kind of like in a weird situation, or you're slouching and you're not in that openness, ready to digest and receive? So it can help you to just get more clear as to how you feel, and it can really help your digestive system, no matter what type of food you're eating, that you're sitting open, blood is flowing to your organs freely. I learned this one actually from, is his name Sakguru?
Yeah.
Yeah. From a Satguru, he's like a meditation, a spiritual teacher. And he was saying how important that is spiritually, to be sitting and opening up your food as well. You get to receive all of its nutrients, every level of its nutrients, because you're so open and you're conscious of the way that you're sitting. And then it really helps with digestion and assimilation of those nutrients.
He has something very specific, didn't he? Like one leg down and like 1 foot up. I've heard him talk about that.
I'll have to look it
I
up.
forget what it is, but he has some interesting stuff. He has a lot of YouTube content just talking about various topics, and he's a pretty wise guy.
He's alive today, so I think they still put out content. He's quite old, but he has a lot of wisdom to him. He's a interesting guy to listen to. Yeah, all free on YouTube. Okay. So as you go and as you make these connections onto like, yes foods and no foods, it's hard not to like judge them necessarily, good, bad, yes and no. You can categorize them however you want, But as you do hone in on those and get into those categorizations, really trying to pick more of those yes foods so you can get really clear. You can be that really clear channel. And again, we were talking about this last week is, when you are on keto and you're not having so much of the sugar and the breads and stuff, you can be a little bit more of a clear channel because you're not so bogged down by the distractions. So this, leaning into your intuition, leaning into those yes foods can help you to gain even more insight and even more intuition without having to do a keto diet or, something to like kind of start you out. And it'll just be like slow over time that you learn and lean into that. Sometimes, I don't know, you guys have all done a lot of work on yourselves. You look backwards and it's like, holy, look how far I've come. And it didn't really feel like work, and this is that as well. You're just kind of leaning into those yes foods as often as you can. So you can become more clear, leaning into the intuition, and your body keeps saying yes and yes. Okay. And then same with the situations, your nervous system regulation, your posture, those things too. So leaning into those types of yeses too, being really clear with your body with your food, present as much as you can, as often as you can. So again, you can become more and more clear. Next would be the power of mindset, really knowing your body's resilience. Thomas shared a couple of weeks ago about the protein powder, and when he ate it 1 or 2 times, it was like, this isn't digesting. He think, it felt like it wasn't the right food for him. And he simply changed his mindset. We broke it down in Slack and all the ingredients and whatnot. He looked at it and said, this shouldn't bother me. He changed his mindset and started eating it. And it was no longer a problem. Is that still true for you, Thomas? Yeah. Awesome. So like the mindset is so big, you know that your body's resilient, that you can eat the cake and not feel guilty. And, like whether it's a health food or not, the mindset still is so crucial to being there, knowing that, yeah, like I am in good company. I am celebrating somebody, or I'm celebrating myself, or, when I'm on my period and I want cake, and it is what it is. Like you just try and release the guilt, be present with it, and know that your body's resilient with everything, with food, but so many other things too. It's just such a huge piece.
Yeah, a lot of people report that on vacation, and there could be various things, but I think there's such a low stress state, and you just kind of accept that you're not going to be, or you might be indulging, and you feel great. You can eat the pizza and the pasta and then be fine. And then you come back here and it seems to be causing issues. Or there's a medical doctor called Andrew Weil. And he talks about some of his experiences. He used to be big into different like plant medicines and psychedelics. And when he was on LSD once, there were a few different things, but one, this is not as related to food, but I think he did have some examples with that. But he just had this in his mindset that like he would always get sunburn no matter what, and like didn't matter. He'd have to like lather up so much sunscreen. And one time on LSD, it was like a hot day, and he just told himself in his mind, he's like, "This is so stupid. Like, why am I so scared of the sun? This doesn't make sense. Like my body's resilient." And then after that day, something switched, and suddenly his sun tolerance just like instantaneously went up dramatically. And he had some other example about a food allergy where he just in his brain he was trying to work it out, and he's like, I don't understand why this is, why I'm reacting to this so much. But he just had one experience, and that's a unique state where your mind is very like neuroplastic, so you're able to create these new connections. But he just kind of said, nope, I'm not allergic to this. Nope, I'm not allergic to the sun anymore. And just like that, instant changes. So I think we don't often give enough credit to how powerful our mind is when it comes to this kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm. And with that, you want to watch your language around food. I'm going to call you out. But Andrew used to be super, what's the word? Aggressive when it comes to, being healthy, I guess. Like you've definitely militant. Sure. That's a good word. So sometimes I'd be eating something or I'd want something, and I'd want something, let's say, and he'd say, you want that toxic crap, like that's toxic. And And sometimes I would be eating something and you'd say like, that's toxic or this is crap or whatever this is. Then you start to believe it, right? So you have to watch your mindset when it comes to food, or sorry, your language when it comes to food. Even though sometimes you think something's toxic and it might be, really try not to, especially if we're actually eating it, don't call it toxic, and make sure no one else around you is calling it toxic because this creates toxins, right? So yeah, that's something that we definitely, you've gotten so much better on because I told you to stop.
Fire your cook.
Yeah, it's yeah, you just don't want to be talking negatively like that about your food, especially, or even other people. Like, you don't want to be looking at someone and be like, oh my God, I can't believe they're eating that toxic crap. Like, that you're poisoning them too. So try and watch your language when it comes to food. Yeah, Veronique.
Well, it's tempting too, because like for kids, for example, you're like I want the best for you to grow and not go for the candies all the time. So it's I don't know, there's a way to say it maybe, but at the same time you can't just be passive and be like, I'm not gonna say nothing. So
Mhm.
I find maybe it's easier between adults, like for it's like, you're sure you want this? Take a breath before. But I don't know. It's for kid, I find it's
Yeah, I think that's where a lot of self-reflection afterwards we'll have it. Okay, you can have this. Now let's tune in. How does your belly feel? How does your mind feel? Where are you energized? Are you feeling depleted from this, right? It's like kind of helping them, as long as they're open and willing to do the work afterwards too. Sure, you can have this. Now have one and stop and see how you feel, right? And
yeah,
this
they don't feel nothing.
No, okay. They're like, it tastes good, Mom. What do you
Unless
mean?
like I mean, like unless they really eat a lot of crap, like they won't feel it because the mindset is good. Like it's
Mm-hmm.
I guess, or they have a lot of energy still, like they're young and they don't notice those things like in their body. So it's for them it's hard. Eh, no, I don't see that thing. Like it's I
Mm.
don't know. I don't know. It's mm, like there's so much life force in them that they can eat crap and they don't have the repercussion. It's a little bit like alcohol. Like when you're young, you can have a lot and then you hit 40 and you're like, it doesn't work. Like, but the same, I think, for food and crap. So
Yeah.
I don't
Yeah.
know that they notice. That's the thing. Like, so
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's
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 tough.
a fine line.
yeah, it is.
It's tough to have the like foresight too, because a lot of these things, yeah, they may not make you feel terrible right away, but it's like a cumulative thing. Like having a bit of pesticides, not the end of the world. But then if you do that for 60 years, then there may be an issue and you may end up with Alzheimer's or whatever it is. And it's just like it's tough. So I don't know the full answer to that.
Well,
Well,
sorry, go ahead.
progression. It's a progression.
Yeah, and focus on what you can control, which is getting good
That's
things in. Right, allowing the good to come in, first and foremost, especially before any of the processed foods, and then like, I know it's hard, but trying not to restrict, because restricting does not necessarily teach a child to listen to their body either. So allowing those good nutrients to come in first and saying, okay, well, there is candy, but first we got to eat our beef heart dinner or kitchery dinner, you know what I mean? And then knowing that their body is resilient, using that mindset as well, like you said it as well, like they just don't feel it because they're so young and vital. Well, that's actually a really good thing, right? Like their body is young and vital and they can handle this. But yeah, making sure that you can get those good things in as often as possible. And I remember Jenna taught Braylon, her daughter, my niece, listen to your body. You always have to listen to your body. Sure, you can have one, but listen to your body. And now she uses it. My body says I need a cupcake. My body says.
they use it against us.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's not an exact science, but what you can control is some of the good stuff going in. So maybe more like acknowledgement on that, like how well you're doing in that regard, will hopefully help you ease the pressure a bit.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Go ahead. You're gonna say
Well,
something?
it's just a little tangent. Like I find this a big issue in the health influencer world too. Like you hear so many people saying that like this is toxic or this is whatever, and oftentimes it's like, I mean, such varying opinions, which we've talked about. Like people in the carnivore world will say all plants are toxic, the plant toxins are killing you, and then vegans will say, oh, you're eating dead carcass, just rotting tissue in your body, and that's toxic. So I think you just need to be careful with what what you're listening to. Because I listen to a lot of podcasts and I like listening to people with different views, but then even if it's just a slight subconscious seed planted in your mind, you start to fear all these things. So I think it's something that almost everyone goes through on their health journey when they start learning more, is like, you become kind of paranoid about all the things that can kill you, and you forget to focus on all the things that can heal you. So just being mindful of that, and not that you shouldn't listen to that information, but just knowing, to use your discernment, and always trust that your life force is can, and mindset is going to overcome those things.
Yeah, it can be very overwhelming very quickly. And yeah, just watching, noticing yourself, using your intuition when you're listening to something and it feels very empowering versus disempowering, versus fear-based, versus, oh my God, I can never eat an apple again because of this new, Bill Gates, blah, blah, blah. It becomes so overwhelming, and it just like fear takes over, and you don't get that empowerment piece from it. It doesn't feel like you're closing the episode and being like, yeah, I'm going to try this. I'm going to do this. Right. It's the total opposite. It's like closing off. What else should I avoid? Oh my God, I need to, and it becomes very overwhelming. So notice when it's something that you're consuming, like information that you're consuming, and how it makes you feel. Right? Because this is part of that intuition too. If it doesn't make you feel good, maybe it's the way that that person's presenting it, but you still want to know the information, find a different source. See if there's somebody, connect with Centenarian Club people. We all, listen to this, that, and the other thing. So if it's like, can you tell me more about this without the fear-based, mongering into it? Yeah, we can try and present that for you. Or somebody else in the group might know a little bit more. So hopefully, yeah, just noticing that difference when it gets overwhelming. I know that there's a real, I've seen multiple people make them where they kind of go through all the different health advice of being like, don't eat meat. He's like about to sit down and eat a sandwich, and they're like, don't eat meat. Meat is so bad. So he's like, oh, okay, takes out the meat. Don't eat bread. Bread has this and that. So he takes off the bread. And then don't eat lettuce. Vegetables are so bad. So he takes off the lettuce. He's just left with an apple. It's like, don't eat the apple, this and that. And then he's just like, okay, I guess I'll have the water. And somebody's like, breath is the only thing that you need. And he's like, oh, what do I do? So it's just like, it's so overwhelming. Depends on who we're listening to, but it's just it can be so limiting. So yeah, just intuition is where it comes in. Yeah, very, very potent. And timing in your life too. Sometimes something might be true. For instance, like restricting pesticides. Okay, so this is something I learned a long time ago, but at the time I wasn't able, it was too overwhelming for me to try and eat healthy, try and restrict pesticides and only do organic and da 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 da. Know that it's something that you can come back to. And if it's something that you're learning right now and you're like, I'm just not ready to implement that, that's okay. There's intuition in there, that there's truth in there. So then you can kind of come back to it later on. And if that's something that you're like, I'm feeling called to learn more about those pesticides and what I can do to reduce that, come back to it in a few months, in a few years, whatever. Follow your intuition in that regard too. Yeah, I guess just the last point that I have written is just respect your body and your food. So language when it comes to your body, preferences, intuition, it all comes down to how you're respecting your body, and how you're respecting the food in front of you and those around you. So that is really, I guess, the goal in the journey is to really have the utmost respect for yourself as you go, and you're choosing foods that help you to achieve that respect.
I read this book a couple months ago, Yoga of Nutrition. And it was just a recommendation that someone gave to me. I had no idea, like I assumed it was about nutrition, obviously. And I don't think he spoke once about what kind of foods you should eat. Like there might have been like one or two things he mentioned, but the rest was purely how you should be eating, the state you should be eating, connecting to your food, having the gratitude. He talks about like being, connected to God when you're eating, and how the food can nourish your body on the physical level, on the astral level, on the mental level. And like, it was like, some of it was very deep and a little bit like esoteric and beyond my understanding, but I just found it to be very impactful to read an entire book on like basically this stuff, like intuitive eating and how to eat, not so much what to eat. And he's kind of like a spiritual guru as well. So if you want to take a deeper dive, it wasn't the easiest book to find, but I really enjoyed it and learned a lot. So we can put that in the Slack notes.
Who wrote that book?
I'll just put it in the chat.
Okay.
Not
Hard
an
to
easy.
pronounce. Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry, we promised that we go into omega-3s and 6s, but we ran out of time. Sorry, we always think that we could do more than we can. So we're learning this. We'll do that next week. Any questions or reflections or insights on intuitive eating before we end for today?
No, I was just thinking, it's interesting. The more you're trying to be aware, the more you kind of realizing that patterns start to exist, kind of thing that, like, and you guys were starting to call each other out, like, okay, like, don't call this crap food or that is poisonous or whatever. And just one of the examples is I was saying, man, this drives me crazy. Like, and that would be consistent, right? And Gwen said, let's change that. Let's change those words, right? Because drive me crazy would bring about like facial anger or whatever. And so we changed it. This is driving me smiling.
Nice.
I
And so
love
that was a total like, what?
Changes the mindset.
And so now it makes me just smile as I think about it, and a different behavior that comes out of that. And I'm just sharing that it's that drastic that can happen with a lot of different things that are happening in our life. And, those aha moments gonna come from just being mindful as we're talking about. So I appreciate the conversation we're having because, trying to be mindful in cooking, trying to be mindful before we eat, you have a prayer, but to be really mindful, I think it's going to take a bit of work.
Mm-hmm.
Thomas's mom used to laugh at me because she'd go, what you want, what are you going to eat or whatever? And I go, wait a minute, I'm having a conversation with my stomach because just thinking about what it feels like it wants to have. And she'd kind of laugh and go, I just look for food. Well, I don't have that conversation.
That's awesome.
Yeah, some people are not ready for it, and that's okay. That's their journey.
Yeah.
And then you do look a little bit different when you're around people who are just meaning like just to kind of shove their face, and it is what it is. It doesn't matter what they eat, but that's okay. You're each on your own journey, and that's part of the respect too.
Yeah.
I love that though. You're driving me smiling.
Yeah, one, I don't know if we've been successful at this, but another one is, I'm dying of hunger. It's like, or I'm starving. It's like, no, you're not actually even close to starving. And to say like, I'm dying of hunger compared to people who like actually are, it's kind of like a very privileged thing a weird thing to say. So
Yeah.
there's many things like that we say, right? It's just subconsciously just what other people say. So it's good to become aware and try to change those things.
Yeah, another one that Andrew does for me, it was like always my instinct to say, ow, something happened. I'd be like, ow. And it was like almost like this victim-y piece of me would come out and I'm, ow, that hurt, ow, ow, ow. And he started to ask, hurt or startle? And sometimes something would startle you and you're like, ow, oh my God. And he asked all the time, because I would say it all the time, hurt or startle? And I'd be like, startle.
90% startle.
And it helped so much for me to be like, okay, true, not everything hurts. I'm not always a victim. Sometimes things just like startle me a little bit and I'm okay. So there's been a big change there, but yeah, changing the way we speak is huge.
Yeah, Veronique, I think it is an older book. I couldn't see the exact date, but yeah, I think he's passed now, and it looks like he has a lot of old kind of spiritual books, but fairly old, pretty small too. Like you could get through it, 140 pages. It won't take too long. But very impactful and kind of ties into all the stuff that we talked about today.
I think I read that one then.
Oh yeah.
I think I might have it in my library. I'm gonna have to check.
Okay.
But I think I have the French version, but
Yeah, I think he's Bulgarian, but yeah, I think he has. It looks like they have many different kind of editor or distributors at the back of different languages. So yeah, maybe you have the French version. Yeah, you did a lot of books. Got like,
and that was really
20 books
deep
listed.
spiritual when I read it. I was in my 20s and I was like, that's not for me now.
Yes, there are a few parts like that for me where I've heard about it now, I can wrap my head around it, but I still can't fully appreciate it. But you can just tell there's like, okay, there's so many different levels to this that I would love to master one day, but you can take what you can
Yeah.
from it. But yeah, you
He's
have to be ready.
He's on a different level and he doesn't
Yeah.
have kids and he doesn't have to cook. And yes,
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
that's some time where I feel I'm like, yes, but that's what you do all day. I'd love to
Right.
see you with actual people.
Yes. Yeah.
But Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
looking for it actually at the moment, but I don't see it. I'm pretty
Yeah,
sure.
that's the practice. That's the practice. I remember Ram Dass always talks about, how easy it is to be meditative, mindful, and peaceful when he's meditating in a cave. And he said the biggest spiritual practice for him is going home to see his family. He said that that's the biggest spiritual practice is where he really loses himself in his ego and the expectations that he has of himself and whatnot. It's difficult. So a lot of people say, yeah, I'm spiritual and I don't see my family because it's too hard or whatever. But he's like, that's actually the biggest spiritual practice is, there's teachers like this who don't have kids for a reason, right? So they can spell it all out for the rest of us. And then we get to take what we like and try and apply it into our own lives and then transform our lives from there. It's not going to look perfect. It's not going to look the way that he does it, but that's okay. That's his journey to be like the total, biggest potential, I guess, a beam of light that we can strive for, but then in our lives we get to practice and see what holds true, see what we can learn about ourselves.
If you think you're enlightened, go spend a week with your family. That's what he always says. Or people would go visit his guru. They'd travel all the way to India and say, like, how do I, whatever, become more spiritual? And then he'd ask, how's your relationship with your parents? And they'd be like, it's not so good. And they say, all right, go fix that and then come back. So sure enough, the dedicated people would come back and then he would start teaching them spiritual knowledge. But he was saying you can't just neglect that part.
Eckhart Tolle says the same.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm sure they all did because such a foundation
We'll have
thing.
deep karma with our families. Deep.
That's
Beyond this lifetime, I'm sure.
Okay, awesome. So yeah, we'll get into some of the questions and topics that you guys wanted to discuss next week. And I know we've been talking a lot about nutrition, which is great, but I'd love to also talk about some other things. So we will address the omega-3 and omega-6 and then get into some other topics as well.
That you guys wanted to hear about.
Yeah.
Okay. Have
Thank
a
you.
wonderful, our pleasure.
Thank
Have
you.
a wonderful weekend and we'll see you
too.
guys next week.
Bye bye.
Thanks, you too. Bye.
Bye.